Can you give us a brief introduction? Who are you and what is your role?
Thank you for that question. I was made in Holland quite a few years ago and have always been in tech. From the early days, I studied space technology, so I started as a rocket scientist for quite a while. And that at that point in time, in the early mid 80s, was a really slow moving market, a slow moving industry. So it didn't really, the study was great, but the actual work was not exciting enough for me. So at that point in time, literally the internet was starting back in the US. And I was lucky enough to find one of the first American firms that were going big time investing into Europe, building networks first and then data centers. And again, I joined them, and since then, done a few more of those. I can say that I was like part of the early days of the internet in Europe, again, brought by the Americans, even to the extent that I spent the Millennium Year Change, or the Millennium New Year's Eve is what they call it, I think properly, in a data center, which again was the most boring night of my life. That said, I think there's a few things that where we end up right now, which are fantastic. I think the digital lives that we can have and are experiencing every day, looking at this video, having long distance interaction is very, very good. But there's also a few things which I think need to be improved, and we'll get to that at a later stage. And what made me switch and stop what I was doing and start doing what I'm doing right now is actually a story with my youngest son. And he approached me when he was 8. He's 15 today, so it's a while ago. But when he was 8, he said to me, like, can you help me? I want to boil an egg in the microwave. And I said, well, no, I don't think that that's possible. And I think it will turn into a mess. And he said, no. I've seen this and I know that this can be done. And I said, okay, I'll make a deal with you. And if what I think happens, which is it becomes a big mess, then you clean, right? Because I don't want you to do it and I don't want to clean it either. So he said, yeah, that's fine. So anyway, he gets a little cup, fills it half full with water, then he puts the egg in it, he puts it in the microwave, and he puts it at some time in wattage, which I don't remember. But the point of the story is that we got a perfectly boiled egg at the end of the exercise. And I was astonished because, again, I didn't have that piece of information, and neither did my wife, because I checked with her later. And what he came back with was, I did ask him, where did you get this? He said, well, YouTube. And the point of the story is that there's a lot of things which are happening and which are being presented and streamed on YouTube and what have you, but there's also a very big learning base possible through what is being posted out there. And the thing is that we here, where we are in the West, in the developed world, so to say, have access to that. We can afford it. We can do things with it. And for me, it was obvious at that point in time that just having it here and now, where we are, is just not enough. There's a couple of billion people which do not have access, and they need to be made an internet as well, which is sustainable, affordable, efficient. And that's where my journey started, which is the journey that I would like to speak about a little bit more today.
Can you explain the technology behind DigiCorp?
We need to build an internet which is for everyone and is enjoyable by everyone. And if we look at how things have developed in our own lives over the last, let's call it the last decade, then we're really, really very much depending on it in all sorts of cases. And again, the most recent one, the very obvious one is COVID. Unfortunately, COVID is here. And people have not been able to go physically to school, but they've been able to enjoy online lessons, right? I mean, a really, really important step, a really important bit, and it pushed even that technology further to where it is. So in order to make that technology work everywhere and work for everyone and work in an affordable way, you have to simplify it. And that is a way to go towards the technologies that we use, but with the very, very straightforward idea to make things simple and not to build a very complex model around it that needs lots of knowledge. And lots of knowledge means lots of money. Lots of money means that it's not available everywhere. So you need to take a view that and a starting point that you want to make it super simple. And super simple means it in the end just works. Now, that's a long introduction to what it is that we do and how we do it. But in the end, we've taken, because if and when you want to run applications, if and when you want to do process data and store data, because if you take the internet, it's all about creating data, processing data, transporting data, and then storing data somewhere. And we're all involved, whether it's for fun or whether it's for business or whether it's for a lot of other activities. We're all, in the end, data processors and data consumers, and we store data, to go back to it later. And what we did is, with the technologies that are available, and which is what the amalgamation, it's not the right word, but the get together of both DigiByte and Threefold has done, is that there is a very rock solid blockchain that has been standing for the last 7 years and has proven to stand up to all sorts of nastiness for the last 7 years. That is a starting point for actually creating a ledger. And what is a ledger? A ledger is something in which you store data. Today it's used for value transactions between people, but you can use the technology for a lot more. DigiCorp wants to start using DigiByte technology for a lot more than what it is being used for today, value transactions. Threefold has taken the approach and has been innovating on the fact that you want to have data processing and data storage, not just in those large data centers that we all know today, which are the big market leaders that have become so dominant. But in order to make it back to something by people and for people, and something that is a lot simpler, believe it or not, than what happens in those data centers, you need to start breaking it up into smaller quantities. And smaller quantities means that you don't need to have a soccer field sized data center in order to build an online service. You can do that also if and when you innovate in the right way and you sort of let go of certain assumptions and ways of doing and achieving goals. You can also do it from the comfort of your home. You can also do it from the comfort of putting a little computer inside a school or inside a city hall or inside a telephone mast or anywhere where network meets electricity. You can basically start to create data processing and data storage capabilities by using simple off-the-shelf hardware. That's what Threefold came in. Now, if you combine the two, a 7-year-long standing blockchain that has withstood the sense of time, that has withstood a lot of people that wanted to do malicious things with it. On the other side, some group of innovators that have taken a data center and, like an exploded view, created a way of producing the same kind of data processing and data storage capabilities, but then from a large number of places, including homes, including schools, including little huts somewhere, for example, in Africa. Then you've got like a utility that is being brought by people and created by people, again, fueled by an interest and an ROI, a return of investment that is based on a digital currency that is being created, with a blockchain technology to store state, to store information in a way that it is immutable and always append. If you put those two together, you can start running applications and you can start creating a metaverse and a metaverse experience by everyone and for everyone, which is really important in this case, that it's not another large conglomerate taking it forward and start building something that is only from that conglomerate.